Hello learners and welcome to Natural Sciences lesson. So today we're going to be dealing with practice questions and application questions that are based on circuits and their components of the circuit. So now let's see whether we can be able to answer these questions. The first question says, we need to complete the following table by drawing the symbols of each of the components listed. So we have a cell, an open switch and a closed switch, and then lastly we also have a resistor. What we need to do is to draw the symbols of each of these components. Remember that a cell and a battery, so a battery basically is a combination of more than one cells that we have that are bonded or connected to each other. So a cell has a symbol like this, where the long annotation here shows a positive terminal and the short one shows a negative terminal. Now, should I have more than one of this, now this is going to constitute a battery. So if it's more than one, this is going to be a battery. But if it's just the one, I have a cell. So I will have my negative and my positive terminal. So this becomes a cell that is connected through a wire or in a wire here. Now, the next one, we need to now draw a component or a symbol for an open switch and a closed switch. Remember, this is found within a wire, whereby now in your wire, you can have an open switch and we can also have a closed switch. So this is our open switch because there's a disconnection between these two wires. But if it's a closed switch, it's just going to be one continuous line with two dots to show that a switch is there. So if it's an open switch, we have a disconnection between the two wires. And then if it's a closed switch, I have the wires are going to be connected to each other. So this is our closed switch. And this is our open switch. So now, the next one says a resistor. We need to draw a symbol for a resistor. We need to know or remember that a resistor can be drawn in one of two ways. The first one that a resistor can be drawn as, we can have the zigzag to show the resistance, or we can have another symbol, sort of like a rectangle, to show that this is a resistor. So any of these two, they are showing the resistor. You'll find that in other sources, your resistor is drawn like the first one here, or the other sources, your resistor is drawn like the second one. You need to know that any one of those two things, it is correct. And if you find that you are finding the second image when drawing the resistor, you are not wrong. It's also totally acceptable. It's also correct. So now the second question says, we need to look at the following circuit diagram and identify the number of bulbs, switches, and the cells in this circuit. Remember, more than one cell constitutes a battery, or that is a battery. And then the bulbs, we know that the symbol for a bulb, it's a circle with a cross inside it. So that's a bulb. And we know that a switch, that can be either a closed switch or it can be an open switch. And then your cell, we can have this for your cell. So now, in this particular diagram, we need to now identify all of these things. What do we have? If it's one, it's a cell. More than one, it's a battery. So what we have here, we have 1, 2, and 3. So this is a battery that is made up of 3 cells. So first of all, the number of bulbs, we have 1, 2, 3. So we have 3 bulbs. Second one, switches. How many switches do we have? And also, are they open or closed switch? So we are seeing that we have one switch here and another one there. So we have 2 switches. And both of them, they are closed. We can just quickly make a note there to say that this, we do know what is happening here. Our switches are closed. And then we also now need to give the number or identify the number of cells in the circuit. As we have said, this is a battery that consists of 3 cells. Remember, the short one, it shows your negative terminal, and the longer one shows your positive terminal. So now, as we chose a negative and a positive terminal. So now, we need to now, with all the information that we have, to draw a simple circuit diagram to illustrate the following. So we need to now show a closed circuit that has 1 cell, also 2 light bulbs, and this must be a closed switch. So how do we then draw those? How do we now take everything and put them into one particular diagram? Remember, we start with a cell, negative and a positive terminal. These 2 terminals are connected by wires. And on these wires, there must be a switch, a closed switch to be specific. And then also, we can just put our switch there. Remember, they're not being specific as to where the location of the switch is supposed to be, where the location of the 2 light bulbs are supposed to be. All we know that we must have all of this information in our particular circuit diagram. So we have now 1 cell accounted for, we have it there. We have a closed switch accounted for, we have it there. Now the last thing to do now is to have our bulbs. So I can put my first bulb there. Remember, there must be a cross inside connecting the 2 wires. And then now I have my other bulb there, and then connecting now, and there we go. So this is my closed circuit. Why? Because the switch is closed, there is no disconnection of the 2 of the wires here. The current will then be able to flow from one terminal to the other terminal. We also have our 2 light bulbs there, and because the switch is closed, the 2 light bulbs are going to light up. But if I were to open the switch, then my 2 light bulbs will be switched off because there won't be any current flowing through and passing through. And I also have my 1 cell there. If they had said a battery consisting of 2 cells, then you know what to do. You just simply add another cell. How do we add it? Let's just quickly show you. We're just going to add another cell there. If the question had said a battery consisting of 2 cells. But in this case, it says just 1 cell, so therefore we're just going to go back to having our only cell there. So now, before moving on to the next set of questions, which are the application questions, we're just going to go for a quick short break, and I will see you just after this.